Alright, so we all saw this coming. Pierre Bourne's label Sauce House is in shambles currently because I believe all of the artists, or at least 2 to 3, I want to say, of the artists have declared that they are not happy with the promotion that they've received. Now, Sauce House is under Interscope, so technically speaking, maybe he's just like the face of the label imprint or joint venture, and therefore he's not responsible for the promotion. But at a certain point, you do have to be responsible for your own artist, especially with Pierre Bourne's reach as a brand thus far. I mean, all you got to do is really put a Pierre Bourne beat on there, put it on a bunch of pages, and then everybody's gonna be tuning in just because it's Pierre Bourne, and he's of course a goated producer, right? Just the sound alone will make the music go far. Again, at least in my opinion, because I think he's so great. I even think he's a great rapper, but some people definitely have their arguments about that. But anyway, Chavo on Twitter yesterday or the day before, around Thanksgiving, said, "I'm no longer associated with Sauce House. It's all love, but I'm moving on with my career." Declaring that he's moving on, potentially amicably, if that's even a word. I guess he's still cool with Pierre Bourne, but he's just done with the label business. He probably wants to get under a label, not necessarily an artist, because as we've talked about with Travis Scott, Playboi Carti, some are more successful than others, but when you're underneath an artist, a lot of times they are still the focal point or just main focus for the label, like promoting their career, because it's just more efficient to be using the dollars for their career and then potentially using that to promote for free the artists underneath them. But Chavo and Shark and even Kura, in my opinion, haven't really been getting enough push to be anywhere close to where Pierre Bourne is. And maybe that's just him trying to build them organically so that they can build a strong fan base. But I feel like they have completely different situations, because in all reality, Pierre Bourne, he kind of blew up with Playboi Carti. Now, I definitely think he's talented. He's made beats for Trippie Redd, 6ix9ine, even though that whole situation was a bit messed up because apparently 6ix9ine kind of stole that without even getting it cleared. It's talking about Gummo, which was a big hit, and Pierre Bourne gets a huge percentage of that song. It's like upwards of like 80, 90%. But Pierre Bourne kind of came up by working with a lot of these bigger artists, and therefore he didn't really need the promotion of a label because it already had the, "Hey, yo, PA, you want to come out here?" And so therefore maybe he just doesn't understand the underlying activities that need to go on behind the scenes on the label end, the business side, to promote his own artists, because he has produced a lot of their tracks, done collab tapes, put them on features for his songs on his tapes like T-Lot 5, among others. But again, it just hasn't been that successful. And so I completely understand why Chavo, even if he is still friends with Pierre Bourne, to leave the label and go somewhere else now that he has somewhat of a name in, I wouldn't call it like the underground space, but like he is still an underground artist in a way. And he did have the Pierre Bourne co-sign, like he did sign to his label quite literally. And so therefore, if Pierre Bourne, who's a great musician all around, not just being a producer or an artist singularly, then obviously he has something that people are looking for, or at least a great musician is. But the writing was on the wall, if you ask me, because even Pierre Bourne's own career, he's kind of taken his foot off of the gas after producing. We've talked about it before, like quote unquote blackballing himself by beefing with Trippie Redd at one point, although he is back working with him on St. Michael. He has one track on Trippie's latest album, as well as having issues with Ken Carson, and so him and Carti probably not working anytime soon, or there's issues with that. He used to work with Drake, and he just stopped producing for these big artists all around just to focus on his artist career, which he probably makes more money in, but does that keep his relevance up? And so a lot of people draw comparisons to Metro Boomin. Like if you just kept making beats for all these big time artists, your brand would be way bigger. And therefore when you do start a label, which he did, like you'll have more pull or like just strength with your newfound artists on your label. Your cosign would mean a lot more. But I feel like The last few projects have kind of been underwhelming. The collab tape with TM88 or even Juicy J, it's like, what are you doing, bro? I understand the artistic direction, but we're talking music business here. We're not trying to make art necessarily. We're trying to do both. You got to make the music that the people want and with the relevant names and everything. And so with all that being said, with all the frustration that was already communicated by all of Pierre Bourne's artists already, again, I think everybody saw this coming already. And this just proves the preconceived notion as to why artists who want to make a great career of their own should not, or at least think about differently as to if you should sign to another artist. I know the co-sign helps a lot, but if they're not behind the scenes helping you strategize the rollout for your albums and music, like what is the good in it if they're just posting you once or twice on your Instagram story or putting their name next to yours? If you're Cardi or you're under Cardi, yeah, that makes sense just because he doesn't really talk too much anyway. But if you're under an artist that may not have the same pull, it might not be the right move. You'll get fire beats though, I'm not gonna lie. And maybe that was enough for Chavo or Shark or Kura to sign to him in the first place. But it looks like it did not end up well. But y'all let me know in the comments what you think about this situation. Should Chavo stay with Pierre Bourne on his Sauce House label, or is it a good move for him to partner up with different avenues or labels to help his career?